The fire trial begins. The night was quiet, but the sky above the alien city burned red. Inside the tall silver towers of the capital, drums beat like a heartbeat, loud and slow. Shadows danced across the temple walls. Torches lit the stone floor. Where the trial was about to begin, Ayla, the alien princess, was dragged forward by 2 guards. Her hands were tied with metal chains. Her long silver hair was messy, her eyes filled with fear but also fire. She had not cried, not begged. She walked with her head high. The crowd stood in silence. Their faces were cold. The elders sat above, watching from their thrones. At the center of the temple, there was a wide circle made of black stone. In the middle of the circle, fire. Flames moved like living snakes, hissing and hot. One elder stood and raised his hand. His voice echoed through the temple. Ayla, daughter of the stars, you have betrayed your blood. You refused the marriage to General Kor. You refused the war. For this you will be tested by the fire. Ayla looked up, her voice calm. I only refused to be a slave. Gasps rose from the crowd, but the elder showed no emotion. Let the fire decide your fate. The drums stopped. The guards pulled Ayla to the edge of the flames. She struggled, but they were too strong. One guard tied her to the metal frame that hung over the fire. It was old and blackened from many punishments before hers. The crowd waited, hungry for fear. The fire crackled, growing louder. Ayla closed her eyes. She whispered something in her own language, something soft, like a goodbye. Then, dash boom. The sky exploded outside the temple. The walls shook. The torches flickered. A sound like thunder echoed across the city. The crowd screamed and looked up. A ship had crashed into the mountains near the capital. It wasn't one of theirs. It was something different, round, silver, and smoking. From the wreck, something moved. A figure stepped out, covered in blood and dirt. It was tall. 2 arms, 2 legs, a strange suit made of broken armor. A face unlike any they had seen. A human. His name was John. He had no idea where he was. His mission was simple: carry medical supplies through a quiet sector of space. But something went wrong. A wormhole pulled him in. Now he was here on a planet with fire, smoke, and people who looked like they wanted war. John stumbled forward. He saw the temple. He saw lights. He followed them. Inside, the elder raised his hand to begin the fire trial. Just then, the temple doors exploded open. Dust filled the air. People screamed. Guards drew their weapons. John walked in, limping. His eyes locked on the girl, tied above the flames. Her skin was pale. Her face was calm, but her eyes begged for help. John didn't understand the language, but he knew that look. He had seen it during wartime, when innocent people were about to die for nothing. He raised his hand, and in it was a stolen alien blaster. Everyone froze. The crowd stepped back. Whispers spread like fire. What is that thing? A demon? A ghost soldier? Ayla opened her eyes. Her heart jumped. The human pointed the blaster at the nearest guard. Let her go, he said. His voice was quiet, but it shook the room. Of course, they didn't understand his words. But the weapon spoke clearly. One of the guards stepped forward. John fired near his foot. The stone floor exploded. The guard jumped back, falling over. The crowd screamed and ran out of the temple. The elders shouted in fear. Stop him! Protect the sacred fire! But no one moved. They had never seen a creature like this. He looked like a god of war. John ran to the metal frame. He looked up at the girl. She was tied with glowing chains. He fired again, zap, and the chains broke. Ayla dropped into his arms for a moment. She stared at him, their eyes locked. You came from the stars? She asked, softly. John didn't reply. He was already moving. He carried her out of the temple. Behind them, the flames still danced. Alarms started to ring across the city. The war had just begun, but the fire had chosen. He wasn't supposed to be there. John Carter had never heard of this planet. It didn't have a name on any human map, no signal, no warnings. Just darkness. He was supposed to fly past it. A simple cargo job, drop medical supplies to a space station, then return home. Easy money, no risks. No trouble. But then, something strange happened. A sudden light. A flash in the black. His ship's controls went crazy. Systems failed. The stars disappeared. He was pulled like a rope, dragging them underwater. He crashed now. Smoke rose from the remains of his ship, twisted like bones. He stepped outside, boots crunching on red stones. Blood ran down his forehead. The wind was sharp. He saw towers in the distance and heard drums and screaming. John didn't know where he was, but he had seen enough war to know when someone was in danger. His legs moved before his brain could stop him. Far ahead, inside the alien city, guards ran through the streets, searching for the intruder. The temple was in chaos. The fire trial was broken. The sacred flame still burned, but the crowd had vanished in fear. Only a few brave ones stayed. They whispered in corners. It was a man, but not like us. He came from the fire. Maybe he's the Ancient One. Elder Varn stood inside the temple, furious. This was not part of the prophecy, he hissed. He looked at the puvk. Broken chains now melted. The girl was gone. The human had taken her. This was not a rescue. It was a war cry. Meanwhile, deep in the outer city. John carried the alien girl through quiet alleys. Her skin was cold. She wasn't speaking now, just breathing, weak but alive. He found shelter in a broken building with walls half-eaten by time. Dust filled the air. He placed her gently on the floor. For a moment, he just stared at her. She didn't look like a human, but not like a monster either. Silver skin, long hair like glowing wires, eyes the color of stars. She opened them slowly. "You came through the fire," she whispered. John blinked. "You understand me?" She shook her head. "No, but I hear your heart." John raised his eyebrows. "Okay, that's new." She smiled weakly. "You're not one of them. You're not part of this war." "No," he said. "I don't even know what this place is." "Then why did you save me?" John looked away. "Because I've seen too many people tied to flames." Flashback John's memory. He was once a soldier. A real one. There was a planet called Varus 4. Civilians were trapped. Enemies burned villages to send a message. John had arrived too late. He found nothing but ashes and chains in the dirt. That memory never left him. He swore to never be late again. Back to the present, John stood and checked the blaster he had stolen from a fallen guard. 2 shots left, maybe 3. He'd need more if he was going to get out of here. "What's your name?" he asked. She sat up slowly. "Aella." "Aella," he repeated. "Okay, we need to move. I don't think they're going to just let us walk away." She nodded. "There's an old way. A path under the city. Only the royal blood knows it." "Lucky me," John said. Outside, metal footsteps echoed in the streets. Tall soldiers in black armor moved like shadows. They carried staffs that hummed with blue energy. They were looking for him, and they wouldn't stop. In a war room far away. General Kor slammed his fist on the map table. "A human? Impossible." He looked at the signal, the crash site, the stolen weapon, the broken trial. "Find him. I want his body brought to me, burned if needed." "And the girl?" A soldier bowed. "She is with him." Kor's eyes narrowed. "Then kill them both." Back in the ruins, John followed Aella through a small tunnel. It was hidden behind a wall covered in vines. The air grew colder. The path twisted like a maze. "Where does this lead?" he asked. "To a place even my enemies fear," she replied. "The old city beneath. The bones of my people." "Bones?" He frowned. She looked at him. You saved me from the flames. But now you must see why I was tied there. Final scene, cliffhanger, they reach an ancient doorway. It glows when John touches it. Strange symbols light up under his hand. Ayala gasps. That's impossible, she whispers. Only someone of the first blood can do that. John stares at his hand. First blood? The door opens. Inside is not darkness, but a giant underground chamber filled with light, machines and statues that look human. But this place was built thousands of years ago. Hunted by both worlds, the door behind them closed with a whisper. Dust hung in the air, like smoke. The underground chamber stretched wider than any building John had ever seen. Machines slept quietly. Walls glowed with soft blue lines, alive with power. John looked around, confused. What is this place? He asked. Awila stepped forward, her eyes full of wonder and fear. The first city. It was lost before I was born. Only in stories now. No one knew it was real. John knelt by a broken statue. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, a face just like his. He frowned. Why does this look human? Ella didn't answer. She was staring at a mural on the wall. It showed figures stepping out of stars, building cities with light. One of them raised a hand and fire came from the sky. John's voice dropped. This isn't just a ruin, it's history. Maybe part of mine. Meanwhile, above ground storms moved across the sky. In the capital city, fear had turned to anger. The Council of Elders blamed Ayala. The people whispered about the fire breaking, about the human with eyes like stone. General Kor stood before the map screen. Red dots blinked. The tunnel under. The temple. They've entered the lower grid. Send the trackers. His second-in-command looked up. We've never sent soldiers down there. They don't come back. Kor smiled. Send the machines instead. Moments later, spider-like drones dropped into the tunnels, silent, fast, deadly. On Earth's edge, human command ship far from the alien planet, orbiting cold space. A large human ship received a signal. Unregistered explosion. Distress beacon. Activated. Pilot John Carter, missing. Captain Rhodes looked at the screen. A single word glowed red. Contact detected. Who else is on that planet? He asked. No one, said his crew. It's off-grid, not meant for colonization. Rhodes narrowed his eyes. No survivors. Send a black drone. Erase the evidence. Back in the underground ruins, John pressed his hand to another panel. It lit up again. Ayala stared. It responds to you, she whispered. Why? John shrugged. I'm just a delivery guy. I fly. I fix. I don't unlock ancient doors. A hum filled the chamber. A large sphere. In the center began to open like a flower. A map hovered in the air, planets, moons, stars. Some were glowing blue. Others were crossed out in red. Ayala pointed. These were our colonies, a long time ago. John pointed to a blinking dot. That's Earth. Ayala looked at him. Then maybe. Your people and mine were never so different. Before he could answer, clank. A sharp sound echoed. Then another dot. John spun around, weapon ready. We're not alone. From the shadows, thin metal creatures crawled forward, eyes glowing, legs clicking. Ayala gasped. Trackers. Good to know. How do we stop them? We don't. That's not helpful. The chase begins. The machines moved fast, slicing through old walls. John grabbed Alia's hand. Run! They ran through narrow halls, their footsteps loud. The map chamber shook. Lights blinked and died. The machines followed without rest. John fired once. Sparks flew. One machine crashed, but 2 more came. This place was our secret, Ayala said, breathing hard. Now it's their weapon. No, it's still ours. They turned a corner and came face to face with a long elevator tube. Rusted. Unstable. John looked at it. Ever ride this before? No. Great. He kicked open the panel and pulled the lever. The tube shook. Violently. The floor dropped from beneath them. They fell. Above ground, in the sky, a black shape cut through the clouds. A human drone, armed with plasma charges, scanned the planet. Its goal was simple: destroy all evidence. That included John Carter. It found his signal deep underground. It began its descent. Underground. Elevator crash site. John and Ella landed hard in a shallow pool. He groaned. Still alive? Ella laughed weakly. You're terrible at flying. He smiled. That wasn't flying, that was falling. They stood slowly. Around them were strange crystals glowing inside the walls. Energy pulsed through the floor. Suddenly, a voice echoed, not in any language but inside their minds. You are not the first, but you may be the last. John looked around wide-eyed. What was that? Ella shivered. Something older than both of us. Final scene. Dual threat. The machines were still hunting them from behind. The human drone was closing in from above. John looked at Ella. Both sides want us dead. Lily touched the glowing crystal. Then maybe it's time we stop running. The underground secret silence. That was the first thing John noticed after the fall. No machines, no alarms. No sounds at all, just the quiet hum of ancient energy flowing through glowing walls. He pushed himself up, soaked from the pool. Ella was already standing. Her silver hair dripped with water. Her eyes, though tired, were focused. They were deep now, deeper than any map had shown. The air was warmer. The colors on the walls shifted slowly, like they were breathing. Where are we? John whispered. Ella looked around. I don't know. This part was never in the stories. They stepped into a large, circular chamber. The walls were covered in carvings. But unlike the alien symbols from before, these carvings were in straight lines, clean, sharp, and familiar. John stepped closer. His eyes widened. English letters, he whispered. This writing. It's Earth language. Ella's voice trembled. How can that be? Long forgotten. They walked slowly through the chamber. It felt like a museum, buried under centuries of dirt. Screens lit up as John passed by. One showed a man in a spacesuit, clearly human, standing beside beings who looked like AELLA. Another screen showed blueprints for ships. But not alien ships. Human ships, early models, from before faster-than-light travel was common. Ella placed her hand on the wall. Your people came here first. John shook his head. No. We thought we were alone. We were just starting to explore space 100 years ago. Then maybe this isn't your first time. That hit him hard. Could humans have traveled far long ago? Built colonies, then vanished? Forgotten even by Earth itself? We lost something, he muttered. Something big. Deeper into the core, they found a narrow staircase leading down. Each step buzzed under their feet. At the bottom, they entered a bright hall filled with pods, dozens of them. All closed. Ella walked to the nearest one. Inside was a woman with John's face, not exactly, but close, brown skin, same eyes. A mark on her collar, Earth emblem, old style. Cryosleep, John said. She's been frozen for years, maybe centuries. Ella was stunned. Why didn't she wake up? John checked the controls. The power was still on. The system's waiting, looking for the right code. He placed his hand on the console. It scanned him. Beep. Accepted. The pod hissed. The woman inside opened her eyes. The survivor, she gasped, her body stiff. John helped her sit up. Her voice was weak, but her words were clear. Who are you? John Carter, Earth pilot. You? She coughed. Commander Elise Kane, Human Exploration Mission. Year 2241, John blinked. That was over 500 years ago. She froze. We made it to the edge. This world was peaceful at first. We worked with them, taught them, loved them. Then, the wars began. We lost contact with Earth. We hid. I was the last. She looked at Ayala. You must be their children. Alili stepped back, shocked. Your people? Gave us language, fire, science, but we forgot your name. Elise looked down. And now they fear you. Fear us. The truth burned suddenly. The lights dimmed. The walls flashed red. John's watch beeped. Incoming drone. Elise looked alarmed. They're still watching? Earth is still trying to erase us? John nodded. I was sent by mistake. But now they're trying to kill me to keep it quiet. They always feared what they couldn't control, she whispered. Ayala turned. To them, then we fight, Elise smiled. You remind me of someone I once loved. She wore fire like armor. Building a resistance together, they powered up the control room. Old weapons came online. Maps lit up. John saw rebel symbols flashing across the screen, old outposts. Long dead, or maybe still waiting. Ayala placed her hand on a glowing panel. A deep voice spoke again, this time clearer. He who carries this spark of old Earth will awaken the forgotten fire. John looked around. I didn't sign up for this. Elise smiled. But you were chosen anyway. Final scene, two shadows on the surface. The black drone hovered. Over the ruins. It locked on. Underground. Defense shields began to rise automatic. Ancient, angry. As the drone fired. The blast hit a sudden invisible wall. It exploded in midair. Far below, John looked up. They found us. Allah held out a glowing blade from the wall. Let them come. Betrayal burns deep. The war had not yet started, but something more dangerous had. A question, one that echoed inside Allah's heart. If humans gave us everything, why did we turn them into enemies? She didn't have the answer. But her cousin did, and he was coming for her. The calm before the fire deepened the ruins. John, Ayala, and Commander Elise worked fast. They repaired old tech, restored lost power, and mapped out safe paths through the lower tunnels. The control room had become their new base. John was teaching Ayala how to shoot. Keep your elbows tight, don't flinch. She frowned. I don't need human weapons. He smiled. You do when alien ones want you dead. They laughed. For a moment, it felt like peace, but peace doesn't last. Footsteps in the dust late that night. While John was resting, Ayala wandered into the main hall of the ruins. Crystals glowed soft blue. Air was quiet. That's when she heard it. A voice. One she hadn't heard in years. Little cousin. Still playing with humans? She turned fast. Standing in the shadows was Vian, her older cousin, heir to one of the royal houses. His cloak was black. His smile cruel. Vian? She gasped. I came to save you, he said. Before your shame becomes our war. Ella stepped back. You betrayed me. You sent the guards to tie me over the fire. You refused power. You chose weakness. And now you hide underground with a human who doesn't belong. He saved me when no one else did. Vian's eyes narrowed. He's a spark that will burn our world down. He raised his hand. A weapon appeared in his palm, slim, sharp, and aimed at her heart. But John had been watching. A shot in the dark. The blast came fast. John fired from the shadows. The shot hit Vian's shoulder. He screamed and dropped the blade. Ella grabbed John's blaster and stood between them. Go. John shouted. I'll handle him, but Ella shook her head. Not this time. She turned to Vian. You told me loyalty meant silence. That family meant control, but now I see family means truth. And truth is fire. She fired, not to kill but to warn. Vian disappeared into the shadows, bleeding and angry, but not broken. Confession. Back in the control room, John sat down hard. His side was bleeding. Ayala found an old medkit and patched him up. He grinned through the pain. You handled yourself well. I learned from the best, she said. Elise returned with data from the deep archive. Vayan's betrayal was planned, she said. He made a deal with someone. From Earth. John sat up. What do you mean? Elise showed a transmission old, broken audio. But one name came through. Captain Rhodes. John froze. He was my commander. Truth burns brighter than flame, Elise explained. Years ago, Rhodes made contact with royal elites. He gave them tech secrets in exchange for power. When we went missing, he erased our files. He didn't lose us, he sold us. Ella clenched her fists, so humans didn't forget us. They chose to abandon us. John's jaw tightened. His voice was low. Then it's not just your war now. It's mine too. The choice later, Ayala sat alone, holding the blade from the ruins. It shimmered with blue light, humming like a heartbeat. John approached. Thinking about him? Thinking about who I used to be. I thought honor meant obedience. But now I know it means standing when no one else will. John nodded. We stand together. Final scene, fire awakened in a chamber deeper than any before. They found a final door. Locked. Old. But alive. John touched it. It opened, not with noise, but with light. Inside was a ship. Not alien. Human. Half buried, half alive, waiting. A voice echoed from inside. Awakening protocol active. Pilot confirmed. John Carter, Earth. Ayala stared. You were never lost. You were hidden. John stepped into the ship. Then it's time we return to the sky. Fire rises again somewhere deep under the ruined world. A ship half asleep for centuries opened its eyes. Its engines hummed with memories. Its walls whispered in ancient code. And its name appeared in golden letters, HFS Emberlight, designed for Earth's final flame. Waking the forgotten, John stepped inside the ship. Its lights blinked, recognizing him. Welcome back, Commander, said a cold mechanical voice. I'm no commander, John muttered. You are now. Screens lit up. Maps unfolded. Mission logs returned after 500 years. Elise, watching from behind, took a slow breath. This ship was one of ours. A last hope. We never knew if it launched. Now. Here it is. Ella stepped in, eyes wide. It feels alive. It is, Elise said. It runs on neural sync. It needs a mind to wake, a leader. Ayala turned to John. So it chose you. He looked around. No, I didn't choose this war. But I won't walk away from it either. The new flame. They worked all night. John relearned flight commands from a ship centuries ahead of his training. Alila trained with rebel weapons built from human designs. Elise reconnected broken signal towers from deep within the ruins. They weren't just hiding anymore. They were preparing across the planet. The people of the surface were waking up too. Rumors spread like fire through the cities. The fire didn't kill her. She controls it now. The human? He flies the ship of stars. The prophecy was wrong, or maybe it just began. General Kaur watched from his war chamber, his hands tight around the throne. They want fire? I'll give them a storm. He activated the army, marching. Steel, flying drones, echoing death. The capital skies turned dark. The uprising began. Sayla stood at the edge of a rooftop, looking over her home. She wore black armor, now light, fast, and laced with glowing marks from the emberlight. On her arm, a symbol burned bright, the flame reversed. The mark of rebellion. Are you ready? John asked, stepping beside her in full pilot gear. She didn't look at him. They tried to burn me alive. Now I burn for something greater. He smiled. That's your speech? Too long? No, perfect. The Battle of the Capital. They launched from underground. The emberlight rose like a blade through stone, breaking centuries of silence. Alarms howled. Kaur's army moved in. But Ayala and John moved faster. They broadcast a signal to every tower. To all who were told to obey. To all who were taught. Fear, we are no longer tied to flames. We are the flame now. Civilians opened gates. Old rebels took up weapons hidden long ago. Drone ships switched sides mid-air, their AI responding to ancient Earth codes. John unlocked. The people fought back. Not for ELLA. Not for John. But for each other. Inside the palace, Ella burst through the gates of the royal tower. She was met by her cousin, V, and still bleeding, still proud. "You brought fire to a kingdom of order," he said. "I brought truth to a kingdom of lies," she replied. They fought, blades clashing, energy flashing, words cutting deeper than steel. "You were always the weak one, Ayala." "No. I just refused to kneel." She disarmed him, and this time she didn't hesitate. Above in the skies, John fought in the emberlight, dodging missiles and firing precision beams. The ship moved with him like an extension of his body, like it had waited just for this moment. Captain Rhodes appeared on comms. "John, this is your last warning. Return, and you live." John answered with a smile. "I already did." He fired. Rhodes' drone fleet collapsed into flame. The flame crowned the battle, ended at dawn. Ashes fell like snow. The people gathered in the temple, once a place of fear. Now it stood as the throne of the free. Ayala stood at its heart. She did not wear a crown. She wore armor, and she carried the blade that once saved her. "I was tied above fire," she said. "Now I rise from it. I am not your queen. I am your spark." Final scene, the signal deep in the emberlight. A screen blinked. A single message from Earth. "We see you. Stand by for contact." John looked at it for a long time, then turned to Ella. "Round 2, she smiled. "Let them come." The stars remember humans long ago. Before the stars had names, humans reached further than anyone dared. They built light. They crossed silence. Then they vanished. But the stars did not forget them. They only waited. A message from the past inside. The command room of the emberlight. John stared at the blinking screen. A voice finally spoke. "This is Earth Command, designation unknown. We've received your signal. Identify yourself." John didn't answer right away. He stood still, lost in thought. He was no longer just a pilot. He had started a war, ended another, awakened a world, and found a history buried in fire. Ella stepped beside him. "Are you ready to talk to them?" John took a deep breath. "I'm not sure they're ready to hear." The New World days had passed since the battle. The capital was still healing, walls broken, towers cracked, but the people were alive. They no longer feared fire. They lit it themselves. At every corner of the city, flames burned bright in celebration. Not punishment. Children danced near glowing sparks. Old enemies sat at the same table. Ella walked through the streets. No guards, no throne, no crown. People bowed not out of fear, but respect. Buried truths. Rising stars in the old ruins. Elise led a team of engineers. They were restoring ancient Earth archives, reconnecting satellites, and unlocking more pods. Humans who had slept too long, now waking one by one. One of them, an old historian, looked at the carvings and whispered, "They were never lost, just buried under too many lies." John's choice back on the emberlight. Earth Command was still waiting. "Repeat, identify yourself." John finally replied. "Name, John Carter. Pilot, survivor. Location, former colony. Unknown status until now. Condition, free, armed, aware." There was silence on the line. "Then, you've found them, haven't you?" John looked at Ella. "No, they found me." The Offer Earth sent coordinates. They wanted a meeting. Ayala and John stood at the edge of the Emberlight's launch bay. "If you go," she said, "you might not come back. If I stay, they'll send others. Someone worse." She looked away. "I don't want to lose you." "You won't," John said. "But maybe. We need to remind Earth what it means to be human." He reached into his jacket and handed her a small device. "If I don't come back, fly straight through the Orion Gate. What's there? He smiled. Hope. Launch. The ember light lifted into the sky once more. But this time, it wasn't running. It was going home. Crowds watched from below. Children pointed. Elders wept. Ella stood alone on the tower, wind in her hair, a flame-shaped blade at her side. She whispered, "Let them see what fire truly is." Final transmission. John's voice played across old satellites. It echoed into the stars. It was picked up by traitors, rebels, and silent listeners hidden on moons. To those still out there, if you remember Earth, come forward. If you forgot it, we forgive you. If you fear it, know this: we are not the ones you left behind. We are what rose from the ashes. We are fire. Final scene. The galaxy responds in dark space. Ships lit up one by one. Some bore Earth's flags. Others, symbols no one had seen in hundreds of years. Old allies. Old enemies. And something else. In the distance, a star pulsed. Not from light, but from a signal ancient, repeating. John leaned forward. His screen translated the message. "We are coming home," he smiled. "Good, we've been waiting."